Hey, Erica. Where is everybody?
Hey, I got kicked out from the other meeting. It said host has ended the meeting. Did that happen to anyone?
Yeah, and I had to log back in.
Okay, same here.
I'm not sure what's going on. I know she had asked to hear her, and then it like logged me out. So I'm not sure what happened.
Let me send a message on the portal. Um, did that happen to you? You anyone like to Emily and Erica as well? Or is it just for me and Janet?
No, it happened to me too. I just thought it said that she made you host. I think she's having trouble on her side. I don't think it's us.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't know if she was having trouble like hearing us.
Mm-hmm.
How's studying going for y'all?
Not the greatest. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah,
Same.
How's it going for you all?
I'm having like a lot of stress as far as like registering for the test. Like they changed a lot since I last tested. So I paid for the test, but now I have to figure out how I'm supposed to apply to seek approval for the test, and it's different this time because last time all I had to do was um, do all of that in one thing, like one registration. But now it's two separate things. So like I've been calling the 800 number for Georgia like all day, and I asked them to call me back because it was like a 3 hour wait on the phone, and nobody called me back. So I've been stressed out about that. But I've been studying, not 3 hours a day, but I've been studying.
Yeah.
I've been watching her videos. It's kind of helped instead of just like reading the material.
Mm-hmm.
Just a different type of studying because sometimes just seeing all the material is kind of overwhelming. Like seeing it
Mhm.
like in that format. I mean, it is a lot of material.
Yeah, I feel like I have to know helping relationships because even like with the family theory, like you have to know them. So I'm trying to study family theories. I'm like, wait, I need to really understand the theories because you're able to like, get information from there. So I feel so like behind. But I'm
Mm,
gonna continue to try.
I understand.
Yeah.
I know I learned this stuff, but sometimes it's hard for me to like recall it because I've learned it in like kind of a bunched up time period.
Mm-hmm. Definitely stressful. When are y'all testing? Are y'all registered?
I am for October the 24th. But if I want to extend it, I can extend the date. I have to pay, I think, like $50. So I'm gonna see because the last time I took it last year, I was off by like 6 points. So I'm thinking, okay, maybe it's like the theory or something because the year before, that's the third time I'm gonna take it. I was off by 5 points. So
Mm,
I have to be off. I have to be missing the same exact questions, the same material. You know what I mean? Because it's so
mm,
close. Um, so
Yeah, I'm supposed to take it in November.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I might have to move it if I don't feel comfortable or like that I'm well prepared. I don't want to take it, you know?
yeah, I understand.
To answer your question, I'm working on registering.
Yeah, that's a stressful within itself. Like they changed how we're supposed to like register for the test for Georgia, and it's like a whole new site, and it's very confusing. So I'm working.
Yeah, they just changed it for Texas too.
I'm like, oh my gosh.
Are you registered, Emily, or not yet?
Not yet. I'm like working on it. Yeah, it's a process.
Yeah, it's way harder now than to get approved to test than it was like when I took it in 2020.
Yeah, my friend took it last year and she said the stuff that I've been doing is so different than how she had to register.
So I sent, oh, she's here.
I'm so tired.
Do we know what's happening? What's going on? Why class hasn't?
We have no idea. Somehow, like we all got logged out and then we logged back in. But before that, she was like, "Can y'all hear me?" And then I got logged out. So maybe some type of tech difficulty.
Gotcha.
You okay, Erica?
I'm a little irritated tonight.
Um,
I'm sure it's probably written all over me, but
yeah, that's why I asked. I hope you feel better.
yeah, I will. Thank you. Appreciate it.
So it seems like she's on here, but
Yeah, I see that.
yeah, I messaged in the dashboard. But there hasn't been any response. I think you're on mute.
Sorry. I was saying we're missing like a lot of people too, so I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Well, at least we're not the only ones just like here. Like we can at least see four of us instead of us just like staring at a blank screen like, oh. what's going on.
Right.
I've had that issue with Zoom, where like everybody else could get in the room except me for some reason.
It happened to like I think the first session I couldn't log in. It said that I needed authorization from administrator.
Yeah, I got that too.
Okay, can you hear me and see me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, I apologize. I'm on my iPhone because I'm not really sure why my camera just died. I'm not really sure. How's everybody doing today?
I've had better days.
Tell me about it. Did your
Thank
camera
you.
break in the middle of a session?
I'm sorry.
Did your camera break in the middle of a session? I was being funny. So
I didn't hear you. It cut out.
what about your day? What happened?
Just life is lifing.
Client, personal, what?
Back to school stuff and personal combination.
Okay. Well, I am very sorry for that. That doesn't make it too easy to study when you are trying to, when life is getting in the way. I'm very sorry about that.
Thank you.
Looks like we're missing a couple of people today. Okay. Have you guys been able to get together to study outside of the group time? Have you found that to be helpful? You gotten to know each other a little bit?
Mhm.
Okay. What'd you work on this week? Can I ask?
We talked a little bit about family and we reviewed a lot of help and relations, and we talked about some videos that we were watching.
Very good. Very good. Very good. Can somebody tell me something they learned?
I know we did the
No notes, just off the top of your head. Come on.
I don't remember. That was
The
I
goal is
wasn't able
doing it though, over and over, so it doesn't go away. And I know
no,
that.
I'm trying to remember what we talked about in our study session.
Okay, let's try that then.
Someone else tag in, please. I know we talked about so much. It was a lot. And then I'm trying to do everything else.
I wasn't able to join, but I've been playing the videos, and I just remember like structural family is more of a reframing.
And that's right. Got it. So when would I use structural family therapy?
When we want strategic. Is that right?
Those are two opposite. Those are opposite. So structural and strategic are two very different things.
Okay.
So structure is, so what happened is we had that Milan through School of Therapy, right? And it broke into two schools. It broke into both structural and strategic. So when we talk about structure, we usually talk about families that have really poor boundaries. Okay. If you watch, usually in a couple of my videos, I mention my favorite family that has really poor boundaries.
Does it start with the D?
The Duggars, the 17 kids and counting. So what kind of terminology can you put into that family?
I know enmeshed for sure.
Okay. And what does it look like in that family?
It is very chaotic.
Well, chaotic doesn't always mean enmeshed. Give me some more.
Have the same identity, not the same identity, but sometimes they have trouble separating themselves, like not as a family unit. Like the mom might see herself through one of her kids, and
Oh, I doubt that in that family. But that's a good
But
example.
the
But not
boundaries are too close. The boundaries-
okay. So give me an example in that movie, in that show. What does that look like?
I remember you talking in one of your videos about you were talking about like their sexual experience though, and where they were, and like how they were talking about how they were at that age, but because they didn't like know anybody out of the family, like you talked about totally
Fine. So one of the things that we know is enmeshment is incest is very popular in enmeshed families.
yeah, I couldn't think of that word. That's what I was trying to say.
Yes. So and that's the reason why. That was my question is so why is that happening in enmeshed families more than other families? And that's the reason, because they have never been exposed to anybody else, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's back up. And I just like to use this family, and I'm not taking sides of anybody, but it's just a really good example of what it looks like. So when the kids were all little, they all had J. Duggar names, didn't they? Did anybody have their own personality? Anybody decide they want to play soccer instead of playing the violin?
No, they kind of pick what their hobbies would be and who they would hang out with.
Oh, some of them got to go to regular school and some got to go homeschool, right? They got a choice.
I know this family.
No, mom and dad decided everything, okay? And the kids, so in the beginning, they were all J. Duggars, and they looked alike. You couldn't tell one from the other. They looked exactly alike. The boys were all J's, the girls were all J's. And hey, I'm not a problem with that at all. But what happened in the beginning is they didn't even have a personality. They were just girl and boy. Okay. And kids, siblings, did all of your siblings play the exact same sport? Were you the mom dragging 12 kids across the field because one's got soccer and one's got football and one's got this, right? Because they're their own people. They're their own people, right? I tried to get them. I did. Don't you all want to play softball? It'd be really great if you're all playing basketball. No. So those kids were one big blob. They didn't have any say-so at all. Okay. And then when I talk about roles, the importance of structural family talks about hierarchies, right? Who's in charge? Who's in charge of these families? So it was clear in that family that mom and dad were in charge, which was okay when the kids were little. But as the kids were growing up, weren't there like 10-year-olds like making tater tot casserole for like 30 people? You obviously haven't watched the Duggars. They always make tater tot casserole. Okay, so and literally they were divided into jobs, and whoever's turn it was did tater tot casserole for 500. No, I mean honestly, that was their job. So it was not clear who were the adults and who were the children. So as the more babies came along, then the adult Duggars then had to raise another Duggar. So they had a buddy. So now I'm 15 and I'm responsible for raising a 2-year-old. I didn't have a 2-year-old. Okay, so that is not what healthy parenting looks like. Okay, and we cannot be surprised, and that's always a test question, that enmeshment does occur more often in enmeshed families because they don't get out. No one ever gets in. And if you ever saw the Duggar show, I only watched it for research reasons, really. So, that when they went someplace, there was another family that came over to work, hang out with them, but there really wasn't any friends. There weren't any friends. Okay. And then as they grew up, and I talk about the girls and boys beginning to date. So y'all's parents, you had to have a chaperone on your date, and you that worked for you, like your house when you're 15, 16, 17. Oh, they couldn't date that young. 18, 19. You had a chaperone on your date?
Yeah.
They had to be approved, not before you married them, but before you could, and you don't date, you date to marry. Right. And again, I'm not talking about anybody's religious beliefs. I'm just talking about the family in general. So at 19, most of us try to get as far away from home as possible, didn't we? Without a spouse. We're just trying to get out. I don't care where we go. Just let me out of this house. Right? They didn't do that. They didn't do that. And really, because enmeshed families don't encourage that. The goal is that we are one. So those are families that most often are the most dysfunctional. Okay. We see those with a lot of our drug and alcohol users that, mom who's supposed to be mom and dad who are supposed to be in charge. And it's really mom and the kids because we're trying to be quiet and enable dad to continue his drinking. Okay. So that's Bowen with the structural family therapy. Now, how would Bowen fix those families?
He focused on, I think that's the tier, but I was gonna say they focused on the one who's the most different, like the black sheep, or is that the tier?
That is who he tried to bond with. I'll give you that. Okay. But what he did is he actually came to your house. He came to your house. Okay. Whitaker also, but when we think of joining, that was Mnuchin. That's what Mnuchin did. Okay. I was working with a family. I was doing some supervision for a client. And I suggested this technique. So what happened was in this family, there were 3, 4, like 6 pretty large people living in a 2-bedroom trailer. It was the grandparents, and this is like out in the middle of nowhere. So the grandparents had 2 adult children, and they had one of their adult children had a disabled son. So they had taken him in. So the 2 bedrooms and 5 adults. So the grandmother had taken in the disabled son. Their daughter was 28, 29, had 2 kids, 19 and 20, had never really been able to have a job, just kind of bounced back and forth. And they would come back, grandma would let them come back often. But this time when they came back, there was already a disabled adult living on the couch. So of course they said, you can stay for a little bit. But what happened is mom then would get off from work at 5 and just not come home till about 7 or 8. The kids were all in sports and soccer and whatever. And grandma and grandpa weren't working, right? She figured that was their job to get them. No reason why she wouldn't. She wasn't an alcoholic. She wasn't a drug user. She just didn't want to. So one of the things that I suggested when working with this family was for her to pull a Mnuchin approach where you join the family. So if mom was supposed to get home at 5 o'clock, the therapist actually went to the house and mom was there at 5 o'clock. She waited till mom got there. And then when mom got there, instead of mom going her stuff and going to bed, the therapist instructed parents to stop feeding those kids, stop making dinner, stop doing anything. Let the daughter do it. They're her kids. So that's rocking their homeostasis. That's literally what he would do. He would be there when mom was supposed to get home. He'd be there when things are dinner's supposed to happen, and the other person wasn't there. So, and what we talked about, as much as she tried, and they'd been in the office before, the whole family had been in the office, but grandparents were those very loving grandparents who weren't able to set any boundaries with this adult woman. So Mnuchin literally came into your house and said, okay, you weren't here at 5, but now your kids eat dinner. What you'll see is the term unbalancing your homeostasis. That was her routine. Did she have any reason to change? No, it was working for her, wasn't it? Just wasn't working for anybody else in the house, but it was working for her. And the parents would not kick her out. So that the first thought was in a structural family house, the parents set the rules, and these parents would not kick the kid out. They lived in the middle of I really want to say I don't know, BFE, very rural. Like, oh, she'll be homeless, she'll be this, she'll be that, and then she kept threatening to take the kids. So really, one of the solutions we had during I do like some mentorship was just pull that Mnuchin approach. Join the family, be there when mom is supposed to be there. And it took a couple times, but finally mom got it. That was her job. This routine, this homeostasis is not okay. So that's the goal of Minuchin, is to change the structure in the family. Okay, to change the homeostasis. And homeostasis belongs to many of the other theorists. That's just your norm, right? So the Milan system, many other theorists, you'll say that they'll talk about that. But literally the goal was, hey, they didn't have these kids. And the grandparents were like probably in their 70s and 80s. We weren't talking like, 20-year-old, 50-year-old grandparents. They were older. And slugging her kids all around places. My mom was just whatever, movies, hanging out, friends, bar, whatever. So that's what it looks like. The word you're going to look for is unbalancing, because that's your routine, that's your norm. Okay, and we're trying to change that norm. Remember, homeostasis is your norm, but it's not always healthy. Okay. So that's why we use the term reframing for structural family therapies, because reframing is what we're going to be doing, because it's just not healthy. Now, relabeling belongs to strategic, because strategic talks about what? As opposed to a hierarchy, strategic talks about
transactions between members or each other,
like
communicating.
Thank you, communicating. And you're right, it is transactions. You're right, but that sounds so textbook. Hello, have you transacted with your children today? Okay, so you are right. But I want to make sure that you understand it and not just get the verbiage. And if I saw transaction on the test, I'd probably think TA. I probably wouldn't think strategic. Okay, so it's learning how we communicate with each other. Okay, so the thought is that these families are not as unhealthy as structural family therapies. The structural family therapies are the one that the foundation is about to fall. We need to go in and rebuild that structure, right? The bricks are crumbling. If we don't do something quickly, this house, this family is going to fall apart. A question might say, you've got a little kid who's he doesn't obey his teachers, right? He doesn't follow the rules at school, and he just does whatever he wants to do. Which family therapy would be the best? This is structure. He never learned rules at home. He never learned what he was supposed to do at home. He did whatever. He came all willy-nilly. That's not a clinical term. That's right. Willy-nilly is not a clinical term. Okay. I know that you guys have worked with those children, that mom and dad have not set down the rules. It is not clear who's in charge. And yes, in abusive families, and yes, in neglected families, but we've all seen families where mom and dad are just sometimes afraid to set the rules. You never had any of those. But what if they don't like me? Right? That's that permissive parenting style, right? What if they just don't like me? Mm-hmm. It's not your job to get your kids to like you. Okay, so that is not the job. And just have been around for a while, we've seen the pendulum kind of swing back and forth of how well we do parenting. Sometimes it's very, very authoritative, and then it's back to authoritarian, and then back to authoritative. So right now, what I see in the kids I don't see many kids anymore, but I'm seeing us going back more to a little authoritative. I saw for a long while when my youngest one's 19, and when they were growing up, I saw a lot of that age, those, what are they? Gen X, what is that? Whatever that generation is, 20s. They did whatever they wanted to do. That was just kind of the parenting style that was in at the time. And no, that is not how we raise children, right? Mom and dad are in charge. So no matter what structure, what theory we use, remember, mom and dad are in charge. Okay, so with strategic, I'm looking for some terminology. I'm looking for those terms, something about like the double bind. What is that?
Do you want me to read what the book says?
No, I want you to know. How come you don't know? I want you to know what a double bind is. Okay, Okay.
I think I can explain it just from what I listened to on your videos of
And
what
that's the
strategic,
goal.
what made sense to me.
That's the
It's
goal.
when
Don't
you
understand it. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's when you talked about a child is behaving a certain way at school or et cetera, somewhere else. But you find out that the mom and dad are divorcing. So they come into therapy and they want to focus on the child's behavior as opposed to what's causing it or the underlining of the behavior that is
Not
because
quite.
the parents are divorced. Okay.
Not quite. You're in the game, but that would be usually called the IP, the independent or the identified patient.
Patient.
Because the ID, the identified patient, and the therapist said, well, that's not a real thing, but you might see on the test. So what happens is the identified patient is acting out what they're seeing at home, right? Mom and dad have got this beautiful white picket fence. They show up to school and they're smiling and we love each other. And oh my gosh, we're amazing. Oh, honey, I love you. I love you. I love you. But when we get home behind closed doors, right? We got some smackdown, throwdown going on, and the kid begins to act out at school. So he's the identified patient, but the goal of that is to draw attention to the family. Okay, because mom and dad are like, oh, no, we don't know what you're talking about. It's little Bobby that he must be the problem. Okay. And we don't believe in an identified patient. Bobby is just acting out what we see. The double bind is giving me mixed messages. Okay, let's be clear. The double blind is the research term, B-L-I-N-D. That's the research term. Okay. So double blind means that neither the researcher nor the person knows what medication they're getting. The double bind is when your kid, the mother says, well, of course I love you. Do you believe that?
Can you explain it again? I'm mixing up blind and bind. I'm sorry.
Blind, can't see, research. Okay. So in research, when so, you know, in a true research, one group gets the placebo and one group gets the real drug.
Yeah, like the control group.
Got it. So if the people don't know which one they're getting, nor the researcher knows either, they both are blinded. They don't know who's getting what.
So
that's
the participant
blind
and the researcher.
Exactly.
Double blind.
Exactly.
Okay.
What happens many times in research is I, as a researcher, I know who's getting the real drug and I know who's not. That's called a single blind because the clients don't know who's getting it, but I know as the researcher. Okay. A double blind means I don't know either. The researcher doesn't know and the participants don't know either. The reason we do that is to avoid any experimenter bias. Because as the experimenter, if I know you're getting the real drug, I might see some things that really aren't there. But if I don't know who's getting the real drug and who's not, then I'm totally unbiased. So blind, double blind is a research term. Neither the researcher nor any of the clients in the research know which one is a placebo and which one is the real drug. Help? Okay. Now the double bind belongs to then strategic family therapy. A double bind is when what is coming out of my mouth is not matching what my body is saying. Incongruency. Okay. A double bind is a mother, telling their kid, oh my gosh, you've got to go to college. You're the first one in generation. You've got to go to college. It's so important to go to college. College. I mentioned college. And then when I'm a senior, mama, they need your FAFSA information. I ain't giving him that stuff. Okay, that was overreaction, over dramatization to help you remember. Okay. So she said something But then she gave the kid a mixed message. You said it was important. And now
What
when
is
I
this here again? I'm sorry.
this is that double bind. B-I-N-D. I think my microphone is that way. Is that better without my microphone less muted on that one? You hear me better that way or not really?
Yes.
Yes, better.
Sorry, I'm using my iPad. I hope it's charged. Okay, so yeah, so that's the double bind, B-I-N-D. Okay. Giving mixed messages. So we're always talking about terminology and what terminology belongs to who. And that terminology belongs to either Jay Haley or Chloe Mendez. Another one you'll see is the paradoxical directive. What is that? What's the paradox?
Is that when you're asked to do the opposite of something, like for example, if it's not working out, like something is it's done intentionally, but to do the opposite.
You're right. Now give me an example.
Would it be like instead of them talking, screaming?
Okay. So in the double, in the paradoxical, it's the fancy term for reverse psychology. That's all it means, a big old fancy term for reverse psychology. However, I can't do it on the first time. Okay. So anybody got kids? When my kids were teenagers, I knew if I said no to this boy, that they would go out with him anyway. Right. Oh, he's good. He's okay. He's okay. My inside's like churning, right? But I know if I say no, they're going to want him anyway because the mama said no. So the paradox is mom said, okay, it's fine. Is that what I really wanted? Heck to the nah, okay? But if I said no, that's the paradox, the opposite. So in families, what we're looking for is, let's say that you've got this family and they keep coming in, they keep saying, my 16-year-old daughter, she won't do what I say. She keeps going out, hanging out with her friends, Tuesday night, partying. I just don't know what to do. So on the first session, you come in and you say, hey, I really think you should probably just take her car keys. Take her car keys, right? That's fair. Take her car keys. Mom does nothing. You come in on the second session, she's complaining still. Oh my gosh, mom, it's awful. It's awful. You know what? She's come home at 4 a.m. Mom locks the door. Just locks the door. Take her cell phone. All of these things I've told mom to do. And mom has done nothing. But she keeps coming in every single week complaining. So the goal of the paradox, it means that, mom, either you want to change or you don't. Okay, mom, so obviously you don't want to change. What I think you should do is really just go out and, on Tuesday night, why don't you just go ahead and pick up all her friends and bring them back to your house? You know what? You could probably just take them to the bar and you buy all the drinks. Something that's so ridiculous that helps mom understand, either you do the things I suggest that you change or you're okay with it. So it's reverse psychology. It's a fancy term for that. That's what your people who are not in the field would say, but we call it a paradoxical directive. But I can't use the opposite until I've asked them to try a couple of things first. Okay. You can't use that paradoxical with people who are suicidal. Well, fine, just go kill yourself. Can't do that. So that's one of the things. Now, you might also see a term, the therapeutic paradoxical. It's the same kind of thing. It's knowing what I would do as the therapist, so telling them what to do. Right? Now, who's Bowen? What did he do? Y'all had a mean teacher that made you do something with Bowen.
Genogram.
Yes. And what's my genogram?
the family. It's kind of like a family tree.
And what does it look at?
That's 3 generations.
And what am I looking? You're right, absolutely. But what am I looking for in those generations?
Patterns between what's being passed down from my grandmother to me, or maybe the thought process.
Okay, and lots of different things. Can you see my screen? Does my camera work enough to share? Probably not.
We can see it. Well, I can.
Yes, I'm so happy. Okay, very good, very good. Okay, so most of your mean teachers made you do a genogram because you're looking for something. Okay, so we do them for lots and lots of different reasons. Okay, so we can do them looking at unhealthy patterns. So many times I've done it in my drug and alcohol class, and that's where I use it to teach people to look at the unhealthy patterns and look at, where that drug and alcohol has come from. And even with active users, sometimes when I get them to write down and they see that, oh my gosh, they've grown up with a whole group of people that have used since they were like 5 or 6, they're surprised to see it on paper. When I have my students do it in college, they never have to write the paper with it, but they never have to share with the class the details. Never, never, never. Okay. But the goal is that I can read the codes and know what it means. Right. And your test is not going to say whether it's red or blue or anything like that. But I have to know that the square is always going to be the man. He always comes first. And the circle is the woman. The more solid the line, the better the relationship. Okay. And what I'm looking for is going back 3 generations, but looking for patterns. And the reason that Bowen did that is because he wanted you to recognize the fact that so many of you do just exactly what your mom and them did. Right? Well, just because I got 3 different baby daddies, it ain't no big deal. Because in your family, it's acceptable. And he's not saying that you shouldn't. What he's saying is if you do it, at least know why. And one of the biggest terms he uses is that emotional fusion. We are just this one tight, just nasty ego mass. And most of us do. Most of us do exactly what our parents did for Christmas, exactly what our parents did for Thanksgiving, Christmas. We do exactly what's done. And he's not saying it's not okay, but know why you do it. And the biggest part is the ego, just the fusion that happens in those situations. Okay, let me look at some questions on that specifically to understand that terminology. You guys hear my dog smacking? My dogs are eating chicken beside me, and you'd think they're like I don't know, people. Okay. This is not an NCE test. This is an HCME, but the things are exactly the same. But I really want to do this with you to help you understand the importance of knowing the verbiage of every theorist. And that's the key. No matter what theorist we work on, is what would that particular theorist say? Okay. Can you see my screen? Am I sharing that? Okay. Yeah. Okay, but volunteers for number 1. Everybody's gonna get a turn. Be brave. I know you're just dying to.
I'll get mine out the way.
Smart girl. Go ahead.
I believe that optimal development occurs when family members are differentiated, anxiety is low, parents are in good emotional contact with their families of origin, and.
Okay, so don't go anywhere yet. There's a whole lot in that question. What did it just ask me?
So basically, it's asking Bowen believed things about family development, and it set some examples, and it's asking for what else did Bowen believe about family development.
So he said that optimal development, that means the best place that we can be, right? The optimum, the best place we can be is when our members are differentiated. What does that mean?
But that mean like they're unique in their own way?
That we are knowing who we are and not doing it just because mom and them did it. Okay, this is Bowen, genogram, things that we push down. So yes, and not only our thoughts, but also our feelings, right? Just because everybody in my family has voted Republican doesn't mean I have to. I'm differentiated. I know, I may vote Republican, but I know why. And not just because we've always done it that way. Okay, anxiety is low. Parents are in good emotional contact with their family of origin. What does that mean? Describe that to me.
Have good contact with a good relationship with like maybe their grandparents or
yes. Okay. And according to Bowen, good relationship, you know, we talk a couple of times a week, but we're not up in everybody's house every single day. I know how to pay a bill without asking, you know, my mama for her opinion. Okay, that's what that means. Yes. Okay. So then, now that I understand the question, what is my best choice there? Read all four. Remember the rules.
But A, there is a successful multi-generational transmission. B, emotional cutoff is resolved. C, strong boundaries exist between family members. D, each family member plays a different role in each of the subsystems to which they belong.
Okay, let's rule out what terms do not belong to Bowen. No way, no how, never, never, never.
A.
Nope, multi-generational is Bowen, right? That's what he talks about. I can't take that one out yet.
Oh, I thought we were taking out what's not right.
Okay, so I said take out what does not belong to Bowen. Okay, so successful multi-generational transmission is what he wants. He wants us to pass things down that are healthy. Next one. Emotional cutoff is resolved. Is that a Bowen term?
Yes.
Okay, let's keep that one in. Okay, what else?
Subsystems? I want to say D.
Okay, is that a term that belongs to Bowen?
Yeah.
Okay, so but subsystems belongs to who? Do you anybody know? Subsystems may belong to Bowen, but not usually. It belongs more to systems theory or boundaries, right? The subsystems in Mnuchin. Okay. And then each family plays a. So which two are you sure that cannot be there?
A.
Okay. Why are you taking A out?
I don't recall reading that during my studies this week. The multi-generational transmission, that just doesn't ring a bell while I was studying.
Okay. So what would you pick?
For the answer?
Or if you want to keep going down, it's up to you, however you want to do it.
I want to say B, but I'm honestly unsure.
Okay. So what does that mean?
Emotional cutoff?
Is resolved.
I don't know how to say it.
Anybody want to offer some thoughts and suggestions on this one?
I would think it's D, just because in the Bowen like theory, everyone is their own self. Like everyone identifies with, they don't follow like the norm of like the parents. But then I do remember the multi-generational transmission. I don't even know what that means. But I do remember, I see it in the book right now, obviously, as well. So, but then I can see why emotional cutoff is also can also be an answer because.
So let's can emotional cutoff be resolved? What does that mean, and can I resolve it?
Cutting off your family members and just focusing on yourself. So
okay, is that mean moving away? Like, what did that mean to Bowen?
Separating yourself.
So not always physically. Sometimes it's just physically. Sometimes it was just emotionally. That you know what, that we are not going to have the same emotional thought every single time. Just because my mom and daddy are a member of the Proud Boys doesn't mean I'll be a member of the Proud Boys too. That's the white group. Does that make sense? Yes, you've heard that before, Dr. Pam, just didn't make it up. Did I lose you?
Oh, I say yes.
Okay. So that's what it means. Emotional cutoff means, yes, my family believes that way, but I don't believe the same way they believe. I don't have to move away from that. Okay. So if the parents are in good emotional contact with their family of origins, it sounds like it's a pretty healthy family, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So boundaries exist. That doesn't belong to him. I'm going to take that one out. And each member plays a different role in the subsystem. So A or B, what's my best choice there? And you won't know to the end, so just be brave here.
I'm going to say B.
Okay.
Say
A. Okay. Who's talking?
That was me talking. I said I would say A, but I said it's not my question. So,
but you get this one. Look at that. Go ahead.
Okay, Bowen felt problems within the family unit stem from A and whereby levels of differentiation among family members become progressively low from one generation to the next.
So stay in the question. There's just learning Bowen language.
Well, I know multi-generation transmission is his language.
Okay. So are the others, aren't they though? Which one is not his? That's a trick question. They all are.
Projection is definitely different.
So family projection process, I think I mentioned that earlier. Sometimes it's also called projective identification. You are projecting things about yourself onto your family. I didn't go to college. I don't know why you need to. Okay, so that is the family projection process. Undifferentiated ego mass is a term that he used. He said that's what some families are. We just all believe and feel and say the same thing. Anybody ever tried to get their mom and daddy to do something different?
Mm-hmm.
Give me an example, buddy.
Yes.
Let's put this in the real world. Okay, this is not this. We do this all the day. Tell me something you try to get your mom and dad to change.
Something like small would be, I asked for my curfew to be longer, like later, I meant to say.
How about as an adult? As a child, you don't get to count that, sorry.
Okay.
that's a parenting question. They have authoritarian questions.
Maybe like, I don't know. I haven't tried as an adult. It was as a child.
Getting out and meeting new people.
Got it. Okay. So then, so your mom was like, I don't need no people. Or your daddy, I don't need no people, do I? I'm fine where I am. And how do your other family members feel about it? Most often the other family members are leave that boy and leave him alone.
Watching TV.
He's fine, right? He's fine.
She's fine. Leave her alone. She's not bothering nobody.
Exactly.
That's just who she is.
Her sister was that way, and her mom was that way too, and she ain't gonna change. That's what that means. That's that they're fused together, the same feelings. And when you come along and you try to differentiate and say, hey, mama, you ain't dead yet. Let's try something else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He did not write this. He did not write this for multicultural families, but he should have. Okay. And Hispanics, anybody that's so close knit, that's exactly what kind of families that Bowen looks at. Okay.
Fusion process the answer.
Say again.
Is fusion process the answer?
I don't know. Won't know to the end.
Oh,
okay. This is Erica. Is that your answer? Mm-hmm. Go back to the question. Tell me why. Make sure before we go away from it. He felt that family problems within the family stem come from which are levels of differentiation among families become progressively lower from one generation to the other. What was your answer?
Yes, fusion. Family, I don't see any projection happening.
Three, Emily?
The underlying factor in the beginning of psychological problem is passed down from one generation to the next and is based on anxious attachment, which may be manifested either as a dependency or isolation. A is detriangulation, B is emotional cutoff, D is emotional fusion, and C is triangulation. I want to say C, emotional fusion.
Okay, let's go through all the terms. Detriangulation is what we're always trying to do, right? Triangulation is is triangulation healthy? Triangulation, and it can be with other people, but Bowen talked about it with mom and dad. Mom and dad are trying to work out some stuff and they ain't talking to each other. Say, Bobby, tell your dad he needs to go take a shower. Sarah, tell your mama this dinner's not any good. The problem with that is mom and dad haven't learned how to communicate with each other, and that's not healthy. Okay. So then triangulation is what they do. Detriangulation is what we try to do, is try to break them up. Okay. So what was your answer to that one?
I went with the emotional fusion.
Emotional fusion. Erica, I'm going to go back to your question, okay? Because what you said to me, are you still there? Yes, read it. I just want to read it again.
Yeah, I thought about my answer. I actually want to change it.
Okay.
Bowen felt problems within the family unit stem from a blank whereby level of differentiation among family members become progressively lower from one generation to the next.
So what we're trying to do is so the levels of differentiation become lower. What does that mean?
I guess the difference in each family.
We stop.
Changes.
We stop. So whereby levels of differentiation among families become progressively lower. We want higher differentiation. We don't want to keep passing down family stuff.
Okay.
Okay. So you said this has nothing to do with family. So I want to go back and recheck your question. It does talk about family, doesn't it?
Yeah, I think I said out loud, I didn't see any projection.
Okay. How about D?
Family projection, but I lean into D because I know that the multi-generation transmission process.
Okay. I'm going to give you a very good example of this. And again, he did not write this for African-American families. I just have to be an expert in African-American families, just because I know. Okay. So, okay. So in many African-American homes, the big mama, the grandmother is the head of the house. Correct? Where'd that come from?
Where did it come from?
Yeah, why do we do that?
I know in my family, my grandmother, Medea, was the head of the home from my grandfather's absence, or maybe he passed away earlier on in the years.
Okay.
And
Okay.
so she had to kind of step in and play both roles and lead her children, and then also raising her children's children, which is her grandchildren.
So where did your grandmother see that from?
Probably her mom.
Do you know where it originates from? Slavery.
Slavery.
Oh,
Slavery. What happened is at the end of the year, especially, you know, because men were everybody was cattle, right? But the man was sold off to somebody else, and the women was stuck to raise the children. That's exactly what he's talking about. Is we don't even know why. We just know great grandma did it, and grandma did it, great grandma did it, and they turned out okay. So we keep passing that down and down without ever asking why.
Mhm.
That makes sense of how it started right here because we didn't have a choice. But we keep passing it down. And just because I'm an expert in African American history, we're not the only ones that do it. Okay. But that's where that comes from. So that's what that means, the multi-generational transmission. And I don't know that anyone ever said to you when you were 3, well, you know, it's okay if you raise children by yourself. But if that's what you saw, you never questioned it. Does that make sense of what Bowen is talking about, of passing things down and down and down and down?
It's like the norm.
Exactly. And the levels of differentiation among family members become progressively lower. We become less differentiated instead of more. We just keep doing it. Make sense? Because that's the goal, is not just to study the book terms, to know this is what we do every day. When you're working with the family, ask them, so what did your mama do when she got mad? Did your great grandmother make dinner when you were little? Because that's what you're looking for, those patterns, to break the patterns. And most of us, if we only grew up in our family, that's all we know. We get married and they do some funky stuff over there, and that family, they do some stuff we don't do, right? So we don't know unless someone says, hey, why do you do that? Okay.
And then I also have seen where in those type of sessions or families, it's a challenge to change that because of the fear of, I don't know what else, or what that would look like. This is all I know. So to change it is very scary, because right now it's working, because that's how it's been functioning from generation to generation. And so you're telling me as a therapist, hey, let's change that, or let's stop these generational curses or whatever.
Do you know what kind of flack I got when I told my mother had died? When I told my mother-in-law that I wasn't going to spank my kids?
Mhm.
I was going to die in hell, and they were going to all go to jail. Just so you know, okay? The Bible says, spare the rods.
Spare the rods,
I was going to die in hell. My kids were going to be heathens. So absolutely. That's why differentiation is so hard. That's what he talks about. The importance of separating an emotional cutoff is not physically moving. It's, you can keep telling me what you want to tell me about how awful my kids are going to be, but it's not going to hurt me because I got this. So that's what that means. And again, not just tons of families, it's the exact same thing, because their mom and dad did. Many of my clients, you know, and will live and die in the same city they are born in. And I'll say, so, you know, have you thought about moving? My family's here. My family's here. I can't move. I can't move. Ain't nobody left the house. No one's ever left it. And That's what that means. That's what he wants us to do. And if you choose not to leave, that's okay too. But at least understand it was a choice you made, not just because we've always done it. Okay. And with our healthy families, no big deal. But when our unhealthy families, right, we always go get drunk and high on Christmas Eve and Santa forgets to come and we keep passing down the tradition. Now I'm gonna call on some African American families, just because we had fried chicken and fat swimming in our food and sugar in every vegetable does not mean we be passing it down. That is not okay. All right. Okay. I want it to make sense to you, not just some textbook that you're reading. You do this every single day. And with the clients you're seeing, one of the first questions when you do that biopsychosocial is you're asking about their upbringing. Because so many of them are doing whatever mom and dad said. And if they're trying to differentiate, it's tough. It's so tough. So that's the verbiage you want to use. And you'll get people that come in all the time. You know what, my parents, and especially if we have like people that have assimilated, right? A different culture that's come along. And in this culture, in my country, we've always did this. And oh my gosh, I want to marry someone who's not Indian. I want to differentiate from our beliefs. This is the verbiage that you're going to use. You do it anyway. Okay, makes sense? Number 4, according to Bowen, which is not one of the goals of family systems theory. You want this one, Jen?
Yes, sorry, I couldn't find the little mouse. It says to help individuals learn more about themselves and their relationships so they can assume responsibility for their own problems. B, to fortify the couple's emotional functioning by increasing their ability to operate independently from their families of origin. C, to help individuals learn more about themselves and their relationships. And D, differentiation, which occurs from rising anxiety within a family, which increases individuals' ability to operate independently from their family of origin.
Okay, so let's go back to the question. So Bowen says three of these things are goals he would work on, but one is not, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think I'd like to take out.
Let's go this way when there's not questions. They're harder for me. So I try to say, tell me which ones definitely would be a Bowenian goal.
Okay, so for sure C, because it helps them learn about themselves and relationships and why they act a certain way or why
Absolutely.
they do things. What's throwing me off for B is couples, fortify couples. So
Keep reading the whole question.
For couples' emotional function by increasing their ability to operate independently from their families of origin.
Absolutely. So, the key to that one was family of origin. That's differentiation, right? Don't go get married and say we have to do it this way because my mother always did it this way.
Okay.
So he wants us to do that. And it says couples, but if you read the whole thing, it talks about family of origin. That's what he wants you to do. Stop doing that just because your mother never did. Anybody remember when they first got married or first hooked up with somebody? And y'all trying to decide how to decorate the Christmas tree or the Hanukkah or whatever you put and deciding. Mm-hmm. And my mom always did it this way. And my mother always did it this way. And my grandmother did it this way. That's kind of hard, isn't it?
Okay.
Okay.
So with that being said, I would also
pick B and C are definitely both things he would do. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now 1 and 4, A and D. Which one of those would he not do?
I don't know because if it also helps you. I mean, I don't remember anything about assuming responsibility for their own problems. It would be more of like patterns and behaviors and thoughts.
Okay.
So I think I'm gonna go with A.
Okay. So he would say A probably. Okay. And I'm gonna go tell you why. So D says differentiation, which occurs from rising anxiety with the family, which increases an individual's ability to operate independently from their family of origin. The anxiety decreases. My anxiety, when I try to differentiate, my anxiety goes up. It makes it harder for me to do it. So that's the one I think would not be it. A talks about individuals learn more about themselves and their relationships, responsibility for their own problems. If you ever, I can tell you when I first got married and I told my husband, he put him his own socks. He said, well, my mom always did it for me. I didn't know what to do. No. I don't care what your mama did. Take some ownership for that. And again, the couples you work with, the families you've seen, how many times have you heard them say, well, we always did it this way? Okay. That may not be the right answer though, but I'm thinking. Okay. Arisa? D, right?
Mhm. The blank is key to Bowenian family systems therapy, shapes the interplay of individuality and togetherness, and is the way family emotional processes are transferred and maintained over several generations. A is multi-generational process, B is emotional cutoff, C is family projection processes, and D is societal emotional processes.
There's a lot of words in this one. Right? Okay, go back to the question. What are they even asking me?
The key to Bowen's family systems therapy.
Okay, so the interplay, because you just went over that. So what does that mean?
Say that again.
The word interplay, what does that mean?
Interplay is how it works together.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
So how it works together. Is it asking how it wants to know what's the key of it, and is it how the family interplays in the individuality and togetherness of the family?
Okay. So blank is the key to Bowen family therapy system. He says it's shaped by the interplay, the mixture of individual and togetherness, and is the way families' emotional processes are transferred and maintained over generation. So not only do we transfer them, but then we keep going. So what's the term for that?
Multi-generational.
Did you read all four, or you just picked that one?
That I just picked that one, but
Okay.
Emotional cutoff, I would rule that one out.
Okay.
And probably societal emotional processes, because but Bowen's not looking at the society. Family projection process.
Dr. Gum, I have a question. Is family projection process, I don't know if it's correct. Is that when like the children follow certain norms because the parents did that and
it's more the parents. I projected my stuff onto you. I didn't go to college and I turned out just fine.
Okay.
Projection is stuff about me that I don't like. Okay. And then I turn around and project it onto you, because projection is what's stuff I don't like about me. Why do you
I would oh, sorry. I would go with the multi-generational because it keeps going and going. And so it's something passed down from generation to generation.
Six. Everybody have a turn? Back to you, Jeanette.
Okay.
Oh, dang, I thought I wouldn't have another turn.
Sorry.
So you're hoping you wouldn't have another turn. I'm sorry.
This whole family section is like really stressful for me because nothing's clicking. But I'll do 6, which refers to the process of freeing oneself from one's family, realizing one's own involvement in problematic relationship systems, as opposed to blaming others, while still being able to emotionally relate to members, the capacity to think and reflect instead of responding automatically, and the ability to think and act wisely in the face of anxiety. Okay.
A lot of
A,
words.
right. A, emotional cutoff. B, differentiation of the self-ego strength. C, undifferentiated,
Undifferentiated, right? He wants us to differentiate. That's the first thing he said. Be different.
and
Mom
D,
and dad.
triangulation. Tongue twister. Okay.
Stay in the question though. Lots of words in the question. Lots of words.
For the process of freeing oneself from one's family, realizing one's involvement, freeing oneself. I saw that. Freeing oneself. Is it, you want me to eliminate?
I want you to spend a little more time in the questions. I know exactly that you know what the question's asking you. Because it's lots of words in there that don't make a lot of sense to me.
Okay.
Okay. So so it refers to the process of freeing myself from my own family, realizing that my emotional involvement in this family is not working out. As opposed to blaming others, I'm going to take ownership for my stuff.
Right.
While still being able to emotionally relate to the members of the family, okay, and reflect on, instead of automatically thinking about the ability to think and act wisely in the safe of the family. So what is that called?
Would you want me to eliminate 2?
I do.
Okay.
Always go through the same process.
So I know that emotional cutoff is when I cut myself off from family members to work on myself. I'm freeing myself. I'm gonna keep that one.
Okay.
Of the self-ego strength. Ego mass? I'm drawing a blank on that one.
The ego mass is what the family is.
Okay. I don't have that in my notes.
Do you guys remember, and I'm just going to call in some news stories, right? That like when someone gets shot and someone does a shooting and they go and interview the family, and all the people in the family go, we are so surprised. We never thought Johnny would do that, right? Y'all all know good and well John was going to do it. But as a family, we're going to stick together and not say anything, because that's what families do. That's what that means. A different, undifferentiated. Behind the walls of the camera, we're like, y'all know Johnny killed that boy. But in front of the camera, don't you dare rat on your family. Don't you dare.
Can you move that thing so I can read the question again?
I'm sorry, I apologize.
No, it's okay. I'm going to eliminate D because I know that's when you add the third person.
Okay.
So
D is when you take out the third person, actually.
Right. So it's the opposite. I'm sorry.
Got it. Yep.
So I have A and C left. I'm going to go with A.
7, I'm going to answer this one. The major influence in triangulation is anxiety. People don't know to talk to each other in a couple or in a family, and it causes anxiety, so that's why they do it. This one is called fusion, the blurring of the psychological boundaries. The psychological boundaries are the family ego mass, but the blurring of it is called fusion. The term complementary means that when families work well together, their roles complement each other. And you all know what triangulation is. Okay. 9, blank refers to the method of which emotional projections are passed on from one generation to another and describes the primary way in which parents transmit their emotional problems to their kids. Okay. Emotional projection are passed away from one generation to the next. What's that called?
It's not
Why is it not?
the family projection is when a family member projects onto you.
Not to other people in their family.
Right. And up to you as in the family member.
Okay, so read the question. The method in which emotional projections are passed on from one generation to another.
Okay.
Okay. My mother did not learn to drive until she was 25. And my mother, to the day she died, did not drive on the interstate. She was terrified to drive on the interstate. Anybody else have a family member like that?
Okay.
Okay. And he would say, don't drive on the interstate, you're gonna die. Okay. He's projecting his stuff onto you. Emily, what about you? Got some stuff your parents projected onto you when growing up?
For
Emily,
sure.
Emily, you better get married and have some babies.
Yeah, they're kind of already at that stage.
But I'm just saying, when you were growing up, was that something that was projected onto you?
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my only value was if I got a husband. That was made very clear to me that the value of a woman was if I got a husband. That's family projection, right? Okay. I'm going to tell you, I am the first, my mother died, and that's really what happened. But I'm the first person that left and didn't come back. And I wouldn't have if my mother hadn't died. So my mother died when I was 16, and I got a great scholarship for college. And I'm like, ain't nothing else holding me there. And I came from a very enmeshed family. We grew up on family property. Everybody knew who everybody was. And I would have never left. Never. It would have never crossed my mind. I would have married a little local boy, got pregnant when I was 20, and lived happily ever after like everybody else in my community. That's just what families do, right? Okay. So again, Bowen's theory is this was written in the 30s and 40s. It's not a new theory, but we still do it. So I love this theory to use with your families. Okay. And the last one, emotional cutoff, refers to blank. People manage their unresolved emotions with their parents, siblings, and other families by reducing or totally cutting off emotional contact with them. Okay.
Can we eliminate?
I was going to answer it. I want to go to a different set of questions.
Okay.
Okay, I'll put this in your chat box, guys. This one understands the terms. Okay. So the first one, Bowen believes the optimal development when family members are differentiated, anxiety is low, parents are in good emotional contact with their family of origin. So that is, that was subsystem. I totally missed that one. I would disagree with that on the test, because subsystem usually on the test would would not belong to Bowen. Bowen never uses subsystems. That is multi-generational process. Emotional fusion, right? We're one big old ego mass. Okay, not one of his goals. That was yours, Janetta. You were right on that one, weren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Good, good. multi-generational process. Okay, and a major influence is triangulation. Okay, I just want you to use this as a vocab term, so really go back and understand some of the vocabulary that belongs to Bowen. Okay, knowing what Bowen would say.
What was the last answer?
Oh, I'm sorry.
The last question, yeah.
That one.
Way people manage anxiety.
Yeah, I would have got that one wrong.
Okay. Okay, I'll put this in your, I'll put it in a Word doc and put it in the box with the answers. Okay, I just want to go over some of, again, the vocabulary that belongs to the theorist, whether it's family therapy or anybody else, just knowing the vocabulary. Now, remember, when it comes to these theorists, it doesn't matter. So I can still be a narrative family person and still be in family therapy. So I still have to know what that particular theorist would do, no matter what theory they are. And that's, as we take it into groups, I still have to know what words would belong to that theorist. Let's share my screen. Okay. I think with you, Emily.
It is important for family therapists to understand stepchildren's questions and concerns related to authority in their newly blended family, such as who is in charge of discipline, where do I belong?
Oh, you read through all three. Okay. So what's the question asking me? So it's important for family therapists to understand stepchildren's questions and concerns related to the authority in their newly blended family, such as, so it's asking me which one of these things would be the most important for me to work on in newly blended families, right? Okay,
Yeah.
don't answer that. I just want you to understand the question. Okay. Does this belong to any particular theorist? Is there any particular theorist that talks about step families? No, there's really not. Okay. So if that's what that means, then that means that I really need to then know it's not a theorist question. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So then so this is probably a normal human development. As families develop, what are we going to do? Now so read all four.
Okay, now I'll read all four out loud.
I want you to always spend more time in the question than in the answer.
So who is in charge of discipline? Where do I belong? Will I get along with my new siblings? What space in the house is mine?
Which one of these would be the most important thing, right? You're working with the new step family and knowing what you know about families in general, which one of these would be the most important thing that you think you would ask? And rule out all of the rules.
I think it would be B. Where do I belong?
Okay, and why?
a lot of times, like the kids and the parents need to know like how they operate in the family unit.
I'm going to tell you that's not the answer.
Okay.
Okay, and you missed something in the question. Go
Okay.
back to the question.
Authority.
Authority.
Yes,
Okay.
that was the answer. It talked about authority. So which one
Well-
of these answers to authority?
Okay.
What was your answer?
It was A.
Yes, yes, very good. It's a reading class. They talked about authority. Very good, Janetta. Very good. That's why I send you back to the question. Because Emily, you wrote this question and you just knew the answer.
I was actually going to read it out and then go back to the question. That's what my thought
Okay.
process.
Okay. So that's what I always want you to do. Okay. And guys, I am never trying to be mean to you. I'm not. I just want you to pass the test. And missing that one word, and you're going to come back and say, but Dr. Pam, I read all the questions and I don't know why I didn't pass. Right? Because the keys are in the answer. The keys are in the stem. Make sense?
Yes.
Good job. Very good job. Okay. Jen?
Yes, a father initiates family counseling and expresses a great deal of distress by a multitude of problems with his two teenage daughters. As a marriage and family therapist, your best approach would be A, develop a diagnosis for the most.
No. Go stay in the question. I want you to spend a couple of minutes understanding the question before you ever go to the answers, even if you know it. Okay.
Okay.
Go back.
So the father's going through distress with his two teenage daughters.
Mhm.
We're trying to identify what approach to take, right?
Okay. What's going on with them?
Probably like a lot of defiance, a lot of
I know that though, right? I just know multitude of problems, right? I can't put anything in there. I just know he comes in and these kids is bad. Sorry, my children are not behaving. Okay. So then what would my best approach be? Read all four.
Okay. A, develop a diagnosis for the most needy child. B, confront the father on the discrepancies between his goals and his parenting skills. C, develop treatment goals and begin working on all of them. Or D, help to finally identify and explore most important issues.
Okay. Whenever I think of these, when it says best, I'm always thinking, what would I do first? Right? What would I do first? Okay, so let's rule out. What would I not do first?
We wouldn't diagnose.
No, not yet. Definitely not. Okay, good.
Develop treatment goals and begin working on them. We need to identify the problem.
Okay, so what's my answer?
I would say D.
When I asked you what was going on, you went and started telling me what you thought was going on, but I don't know. Right? I don't know. The question didn't tell me that. I don't know. Okay, good, very good. Okie dokie, I'm with you, Dee.
10-year-old Ronnie is referred to you for therapy because he has ADHD and is disruptive in class. Over the phone, the mother lets you know that she's not too enthusiastic about the idea of more therapy for Ronnie. The last therapist focused on her and her husband as the cause of the problem and just left her feeling guilty without helping her son. Read the
So do you understand the question? Okay. Can't hear you. Yeah, I lost her. We lost your sound.
Um, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, try
Okay.
again.
It's saying that my internet is unstable.
Okay.
And it's probably because we're having weather issues coming in. So let's see, medical report concur with the ADHD diagnosis and decided to help Ronnie and his family understand what's happening with ADHD and learn how to deal with it. Which approach does this best exemplify? And so the question outside all that blah, blah, blah is the family doesn't understand. He's going to help the family understand the diagnosis of ADHD. Okay, so A is this could best be called an experiential approach. B, this could best be called a psychoeducational approach. C, this could best be called a strategic approach, or D, this could best be called a behavioral approach. I would rule out this could best be called experiential approach. Ooh. And this could be called a behavioral approach. And I would select, this could be called a psychoeducational approach.
And what
B.
words to me?
Say again.
What words prove it to me?
Because he's going to teach the family what's happening with ADHD and learn how to deal with it.
Absolutely.
That's
Absolutely.
education.
Very good. Let's go back. Experiential. What theorist would I think when I say that? Anybody help her out? Experiential.
Earl Whitaker.
Whitaker and family. Yes, Whitaker and family. If it were not family, what other theorist is experiential? Experiential just means you do something.
The Frankel and Yalom.
No, nope. That's essentialism. You're in the ballpark. That's why do I exist? What is my purpose? Experientials where you actually do something. Talk to the empty chair.
Gestalt.
There we go. Yes, Gestalt is experiential because you do something. Okay, very good. My strategic is Jay Haley or Chloe Mandans. We're looking at strategies, double bind, all those techniques, right? And then the behavior is going to be Skinner or Pavlov because behaviors could care less how you feel. But this is a group question, but again, it's still about theories. I think I'm with who's am I with? Erica, you?
Which type of group intervention would be most beneficial for your client, Julie, who is struggling with the recent loss of her husband? Dialectical behavior group. Okay, so we're dealing with grief here. And so it's asking which would be the best one she would benefit from because she just recently lost someone. D, support group.
Very good, very good, very good, very good. I'm back up with you, Janetta.
Okay, a solution-focused therapist. Okay, so that's Shazer is likely to ask,
Do you think you can hear my bell on this one? Yes, go ahead.
why do I get a bell?
You got the bell. I don't have my headphones today, so you get
You
the bell.
associated the therapist.
Okay, check me out. Okay. A question about the client's illogical thoughts and irrational belief. B, a question about the client's family system. No. C, a question about the client's remote past. No. A question about what the client's life would be like if all of his or her problems went away overnight.
Rule out, follow the rules. You know the answer.
Okay, I'm going to rule out B
Okay.
and C,
Okay.
and I am the miracle question that belongs to. I know this.
Which two are you down to?
A and D.
Okay. So solution focus. You told me it was DeShazer. Okay. So which one belongs to him?
A.
No. That's RABT. That's Ellis. RABT.
I said D and I changed it. That's why I failed last time.
Okay.
I
No.
always
You just gotta know the solution focus 6 weeks. Brief, right? If you woke up tomorrow and I weighed 120 pounds, what would my life look like? Hello. Okay. So that's my miracle. And every time I come in, he's gonna say, Pam, how close are you to your 10? Your 10 is your miracle, right? So it's a focus on the positive, focus on going forward. He never looks at the problem. He only focuses on what's going right.
Yeah. I change my answer all the time. Like I'll have the right answer and then I always like think about it and then I'll change it.
Okay, so no thinking. We'll go back to the question and just read. Solution focused therapy is the solution. It's the
And I said the miracle question belongs to him, but I still chose A.
Albert Ellis, RABT, a rational belief system.
Right.
And every theorist has their own verbiage. I'm with you, Emily. Guys, I'm going to go to like 8:30. If you can hang with me, I was late and I want to give you your full time, so I do apologize.
As opposed to other family therapy approaches that work within a systemic framework, the experiential approach emphasizes their work on.
So experiential, we just talked about that. Who would that be?
We'll stop.
For usually individuals, and who's a family therapist that's experiential that came to live at your house?
Bowen.
Whitaker. Mnuchin moved in with you to unbalance your routine, but Whitaker actually lived with you. Whitaker wanted to see what it's like to be a part of your family. He wanted to see what you look like in the morning with your rollers in your head and your house shoes on and to see what it looked like. So Bowen just wanted to experience what it was like to be in your family.
Okay.
Okay. So as opposed to other family therapy approaches that work within a systemic, which means everything is related and much what most theorists believe, it's a system. The experiential approach focuses on what? Read all four.
Interactional patterns within family members, subsystems in their roles, individual and their feeling structure of family.
What could it not be?
I want to say C.
Okay.
And D.
You're not, or that's your answer.
What?
I'm sorry, that's your not?
Those are my nots, yeah.
Okay.
So A and B are like kind of what I want to say B is the answer. I'm totally wrong, aren't I? That would be a guess.
Which one did you pick?
I picked B. Oh.
Okay, let's go back to that question. Okay?
Okay.
Was the key word opposed?
So the key in the question is, which one of these does not include a system?
Okay. I know why I got it wrong then.
Okay.
I mean, individual wouldn't be.
So the structure of a family is a system, right? Everybody's involved.
Yep.
Subsystems are systems. The only one of these that doesn't involve a system is one person. So all of the others talk about systems. One of these things is not like the other. Okay. And this one particularly talks about Gestalt. So when you mention Gestalt and I mention Whitaker, they are both. We good? Everybody see that?
Yes, I am good.
Okay.
I realized I should look at the question differently, like how I processed it in my brain.
Did you say it's a reading test? You're going to hear that in your sleep, okay? Honestly, it's not a processing test. It's a reading test. And that's what makes it so hard. It's because all of us have all of these things that we bring in. We just can't bring them in. Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. With you, Jen. And it's not just you guys, it's the other 80 people I tutored this week too. It's not just you. Okay. It's a paradigm shift, cognitive restructuring, changing, teaching you how to pass a standardized test. Jen?
Yes. It says your client, Cindy, is very hesitant to disclose further information about a painful experience that she had with her husband, Derek. The most appropriate response you could make to convey understanding and trust is
Second first.
Okay. So they're trying to understand. I need to convey understanding and trust. I need to be empathetic.
Okay, so what do you really have? Okay, go ahead.
So I would not say D. That's very unempathetic. Or C. I'm gonna go with A.
What'd you say?
I would go with A, because she's having a hard time. She's having a hard time disclosing more information about a painful experience.
What that's called?
Yeah, empathetic.
That's reflection. I'm reflecting the feelings. Does she say that it's painful for me? I know it's a painful experience, but she doesn't say that. Reflection is putting the feelings that she didn't say.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely, absolutely.
A former client shows up unannounced and requests that you meet him for a cup of coffee at a local cafe. He indicates that he needs to talk to you. What should you do? A is take the time to talk with him, but in your office, not at a coffee shop. B, refuse to meet with him and refer him to another therapist. C, go with him and listen to his problem, then suggest that he makes an appointment. Or D, tell him that you cannot meet with him socially, but he can schedule an appointment.
Let's go back to what happened.
So he shows up unannounced and wants to meet in a local place.
And he's a former, right? He said, we're former clients. Does it give me a time frame?
Nope.
Okay,
No
that
time
matters.
frame.
No time frame, okay.
Well, I would rule out, refuse to meet with him and refer him to another therapist. Because he's
Okay.
my client.
Oh, is he?
Oh, he's former. Dog nabbit. He's a former client.
I'm not saying your answer is right. I'm just saying to you.
Yeah, right. He's former.
Okay.
Right. So, I would, let's see. So I would rule out that well, no, I could keep that. Let's see, go with him. I wouldn't go with him and listen to his problem and then suggest that he makes an appointment afterwards. That's,
So I'm gonna give you
that's my boundaries.
how to answer these, okay? So do you think your gynecologist or somebody maybe you hadn't seen in a while? A doctor, somebody you hadn't seen in a while.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. You walk in his office and say, hey, you know what? I haven't seen in a while. Hey, can we just go get some coffee? What's your doctor gonna say?
No.
Okay, then I'm looking for an answer that matches
Right.
that.
Right.
No bus. Same.
So I would, let me see. Tell him that. I would choose answer D. I would tell him that I cannot meet with him socially, but he can schedule an appointment.
The same thing your doctor would tell you. You are the same profession. Whenever you see those questions, don't forget that. We don't do pro bono.
Mm-mm.
No. My time is worth money. No. Do I know that you all do it in the real world? Yes, but for the test, if you can pretend like you don't, that's what I need you to do, okay? Not for the test. Get your license, do whatever. No. Can you imagine me dropping in my doctor's office? Hey, I know you got 20 clients right here, but can we get some lunch together? No. Okay. Same with you, Erica.
According to narrative therapy, experience is shaped by.
So let's stay there for a second. Narrative therapy, what verbiage do you think of?
Talking.
You are. I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah.
You are correct. You are correct. I'm laughing with you, not at you. I'm sorry. Okay. So it is, but that would not be the same words.
Yeah. So
okay.
Narrative is real reality of what's happening.
Nope. Okay. Verbiage. Narrative therapy is changing the story that you have in your head.
Okay.
That's in the Elwig book. It's in one we talked about under human relations. So narrative stories that you keep telling yourself. I'm not smart enough. I'm not good enough. I'm not fat enough. I'll never pass this test. Nobody will ever marry me. The tape that's in your head. Okay, whether you got it from childhood or ex-husband, you just keep telling yourself over and over and over again, I'll never be good enough. Oh, that's the tape. The goal is to change the narrative. Change your tape. Okay, the words that they use is you are going to take that tape. You're going to, I know you're not old enough to remember the cassettes, the cassette player way back when, right? Okay, way back when, if a boy loved you, he would make you a mixtape. You had to listen to the radio and he had to hit record on the cassette and he would make you a mixtape. It took him like 4 or 5 hours, but if he loved you, that's what he did. Just saying, if you don't remember that. Okay, so Google mixtape in the 90s. So the goal is you're going to pop that tape out of your head. Why do you think you're not good enough? Why do you think you're not pretty enough? Why do you think you'll never pass this test? Pop it out. You know how the cassette would come apart, right? The strings? Take it apart. So she says to externalize, pop it out, deconstruct it, take it apart, rewrite the tape and put it back in your head. That's the words that belong to narrative family therapy. Okay. So while that's the right answer, that wouldn't get me through on the test. Does that make sense? Changing your story.
So, C.
Okay. Why?
The language we use to describe it. Why? Because you just said we're changing our story, how we hear it.
Got it. Absolutely. So would my story be the same as yours?
No,
Absolutely not, right? Absolutely not. That's the goal of narrative therapy, is to change your story. Okay. Solution focused. I'm back with you, Janetta.
A solution-focused therapist might use a scaling question, so that's 1 to 10, in order to, so solution-focused, we're back with Shazer. The scaling question is like when you, as the counselor, ask the client on a scale of 1 to 10 or hot and cold or stuff like that, to describe how they feel about a certain event.
Not hot and cold, but remember I talked about, when I talked about it before, if I woke up tomorrow and I was 120, that's my 10,
Right.
the scale. So every time I come in, she's gonna say, well, Pam, how close are you to your scale? How close are you to your 10? Okay.
What I meant by hot and cold was like sometimes people use, I'm doing my hours right now. So sometimes like the person that I'm shadowing, she'll say like, describe your perfect day for it to be, you know, and then she'll say like hot, cold. So, and she used that as an example for SFBT.
I hear that, but I can't have you think that on the test, because that wouldn't be right.
Okay.
Unless I see your name and your supervisor, you can think it, but don't say it, because that's not gonna be the right answer for the test. Does that make sense?
Yes, it makes sense. So just like 1 to 10.
Okay. And 10 is the best. Whenever you see scale, always, it says 1 to 10. 10 is always the highest, unless it tells you different.
Okay.
So then so now we understand, but what's the question?
So when would a therapist use a scaling question? I can read the answers now.
Please.
That's okay. Okay. A, determine how the client's childhood has influenced his current issues. B, determine the severity of the client's problem. C, determine which problem the client wants to work on first. Or D, determine whether the client has an obesity issue. I am going to eliminate A.
Good.
I'm also going to eliminate D.
Okay, so now you're between B and C.
I'm going to pick B.
I see you making some progress, girl. I'm just gonna put it out there. Look at you studying, knowing some stuff. I'm impressed. Okay, Emily.
Psychoanalytic therapists think that by knowing the motives behind behaviors, the therapist.
So psychoanalytic theory, what word comes to mind? What theorist? Baby.
Oh, Freud.
Yes. There we go. Yes. Okay, so which one of these would be something a Freudian would do?
Okay, can I read them out loud now?
Please.
Could assist clients in finding appropriate ways to fulfill that motive, will not be able to do much for the family system, might increase intensity in the therapeutic relationship, could hinder the therapeutic relationship by knowing too much. So I'm going to get rid of D.
Okay.
And I'm going to get rid of B.
Okay. So let's go back to the question. What's the question asking me?
A therapist using a psychoanalytic perspective, they want to know what the motivation is behind the client's behavior.
So what would a psychoanalytic theorist believe? What's the problem, according to Freud?
they're probably stuck in one of the like oral phallic latent.
Oh, nope, nope, nope. If that were the stage, it would say it. It would say that Pam is fixated, okay? What they believe is everything is unconscious.
Okay.
And you just don't remember what happened. So that was his goal, is to bring things up to the unconscious.
Okay.
Okay. So then, psychoanalytic therapy, by knowing the motives, the stuff in your unconscious, what would it help the therapist do?
Bring the unconscious to the conscious.
But that's not one man. But you're right. Okay, now how do I put that in an answer? You're absolutely right. I can take out B. Nothing about family in this question, is there?
No.
Okay. And I don't think you can know too much. So now between A and C.
I think it's A. Keep going towards A. Keep thinking it's A.
Okay. Remember, in my unconscious, right? My id, my superego, it's not my, well, my sex stuff is there, but this wasn't a sex question, okay? So the problem is it's unconscious and I don't know why I behave this way. I don't know what's going on. So if I can bring those things up, I can help you figure out what the problem is.
Okay.
Okay. I'm with you, Jen.
Yes. Does you learn that your client, Damien, was detained and eventually released for physical assault of his wife, Teresa? They both come to see you for their weekly couples appointment. The most important information you should try to gain is,
And the question?
it's asking about what information we should gain first due to the assault that was on the wife.
Yeah, I got it. Very good.
Okay, so A, triggering behaviors.
Code of ethics question.
Okay. It says A, triggering behaviors his wife may not be aware of. That's no, for sure. B, the name of the officer who arrested your client. That one's out as well. Transference issues he may be having with his wife. And D, your client's potential for violence.
Let's rule out.
Okay, so for sure B, that one's out. That is irrelevant.
The name of the officer. Absolutely.
The triggering behaviors his wife may not be aware of, that's kind of like, oh, well, she was asking for it or whatnot. So I would take that one out as well.
Okay.
So now I'm between C and D, but I don't see them being good options.
Okay. Hold on. Let's stay there. Okay. So C and D, let's compare the two. Okay.
So
Okay. What does C say?
it's asking for transference issues.
Okay. Do you see anything in the question about him transferring some stuff onto me or her?
No,
Okay. Then that can't be my answer, can it?
no, because it's not in the question.
Okay.
So it's D.
And why? You're right, but why? As I said, it's a code of ethics question.
Would it be because we're trying to assess the safety of the partner?
So if there's ever any physical violence, can I ever see them together again? No, not at all. Not at all. Never, ever, ever. That's a safety first question. Never, ever, 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 ever. Okay. I do not want them to say something in the marriage situation. She or he, they go up and get a knockdown, throw out. Somebody die. No. Okay. So that was code of ethics. I'm with you, Dee.
You are a structural therapist seeing a couple, Chad and Tammy. He says she cannot seem to separate from her family and that she's always in touch with her mother and looks to her mother to help her make up her mind. And these mother-daughter decisions go against what he and his wife had already decided on. What would you likely do to assess this couple? A is
Nope.
Oh,
Let's
what
go back.
happened?
Structural family therapist. That matters in the question, okay? What
Question.
does that mean?
We're looking at the family structure.
Okay.
Of
And okay, so what does that mean according to, that's a Bowen, right?
Rowan.
Okay,
So how she relates, right, to her family.
so in a structural family therapy, you're a minister, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what should the household look like according to the Bible? With that scripture, something about leaving your family and clinging to your wife.
Cleave to you, yeah.
Okay, that's what that's asking me. Structural family therapy.
Okay. All right. So A is determine what kind of boundaries exist between Tammy and her family. B is determine the differentiation level of Chad and Tammy's relationship. C is examine how Chad and Tammy function as a couple. And D, determine how flexible Chad and Tammy are as a couple. Ooh, let's see.
Okay. Go back to the question. What's the
Structural.
And what else
Structural
is happening? Okay, what's happening?
Is that Tammy is relying more on her family than she is on her husband.
Mm-hmm.
They take priority.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see. So I'm reviewing their relationship. So determine the differentiation level in Chad and Tammy's relationship. I would keep that. Structuralists deal with boundaries, so I would keep A.
Okay.
So
you've taken out what have you taken out?
Examine how Chad and Tammy. Yeah. Examine how Chad and Tammy function as a couple. Sorry, and determine how flexible Chad and Tammy are as a couple. I would take those two out. And I would go with determine what kind of boundaries exist between Tammy and her family.
I would. Which one is that one? That one? That one.
Hey.
Absolutely. Because until she leaves her mama and clings to her husband, we're gonna have a problem.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. I don't think Mnuchin was scriptural. I just wanted to use something I thought you could relate to. Okay. So
yes, that helped.
Bring up some Mnuchin, okay, and talk about and I say this jokingly, but if you make it part of your life, it's not just these theories over here, right? This is true. In a family, you and your husband are the couple. You and your husband get through the hard stuff and you're in charge. So I heard that's how it worked out. It didn't work out for me, but I've read the books. Erica.
Emotional cutoff explains the process in which a person. Well,
we just talked about this. Who's it belong to?
Strategic.
Bowen.
Huh?
Bowen. Yourself away from your mom and daddy.
Bowen,
Bowen.
multicultural, multi-generational.
That's right.
Okay.
Erica, what do you do for the holidays? What do you do for Christmas?
This last Christmas, we went to Mississippi and spent majority of the time with my husband's father.
Oh, some
Paternal.
family stuff. Some things we keep passing down.
Not necessarily. It's more of dad wasn't present, and it's a rebuilding of a relationship.
Okay.
Okay. I don't think we're gonna make it a generational. We're not gonna keep doing it.
I'm gonna stay there for a minute though, because
Okay.
somewhere in your generational belief system, you have been led to believe that it's important to not leave relationships unfinished.
Yes, and for me, yeah.
Okay, so it's a generational thing though. Because there's some generations like, okay, whatever.
Yep.
Okay. So yeah. Okay. And again,
Yep.
not good or bad. I just want to bring it to the real world.
Okay, yeah, I get you where you're going.
Okay. Okay.
A, escapes from an unresolved emotional attachment by distancing physically or emotionally from it. B, cuts off a family member who is emotionally unstable. C, realizes that he or she has been unhealthily controlling his or her emotionality. And D, stops all emotional contact towards a specific family member. Well, the word cutoff is in B.
Why did your husband stop speaking to his father? And I'm not trying to get into your business. I'm just trying to help you understand.
Oh, I need a session anyways. Let's talk. He didn't stop talking to his father.
Something happened for him to be hurt.
My husband, right?
Yes, something happened.
Yeah, dad just wasn't present.
Okay, but something happened, right? Something happened for your husband to say, this hurts too much, I'm done.
Yeah, it was the probably the in and out. Like I'll show up and then I'll go missing and then I'll show up. It was kind of like jumping in and out. I'm tired of maybe
I'm not doing that no more. This hurts too much. I'm not doing that no more. That's emotional cutoff. I love you, but you do not get to keep playing with my emotions just because you're my dad. That's all that means. I am putting up those walls. And whether I geographically move or I just physically say, I'm not doing this anymore. That's all that means. You don't get to keep hurting me. Okay. Now understand that. Emotional cutoff explains the process in which a person does what?
Hey.
Did you read all four?
I did.
D.
Okay.
Oh Lord, I thought I was gonna be.
I'll go back to it, but that's exactly what he did. Now, if you go back and say, honey, do you know that according to Bowen, you just made a choice to emotionally cut off your father because it helped you from being hurt? You would think, wow, my wife is so smart. Okay, you do it anyway. I'm just giving you the words. You do it every day. Okay, so what were you picking? What were you, Janetta? What were you picking? And the order's changed.
Oh, I thought I was on mute.
Girl, you are not on mute. Go ahead.
So the one Janetta was picking is actually C now. She said D last time.
I picked. What did I pick?
You said D, which is C now, but I don't know if that's what you mean.
No, I wanted the one where they cut the family members off.
Oh yeah, so that was B.
Okay.
Okay. So
So
A
what-
says cut off a family member who's emotionally unstable. They don't have to be emotionally unstable.
No, not that one.
Okay. But I just want to say they don't have to be emotionally unstable. Okay. When I go see my mother-in-law, when my husband was around, this woman was 300 pounds. And every time she saw me, she would say, you know, you put on a little weight, Pam.
Oh wow.
Look in the mirror, girl. Okay. So she was emotionally fine. She was just mean. She was just mean, okay? So she wasn't emotionally unstable.
Projection.
Okay. Oh, look at you using that language like you know it. Good. I'm so impressed. So impressed. Okay.
I could not.
Yes, you did. Okay. So realizing that he or she have been in unhealthy controlling unhealthily controlling his or her emotions. So it's not about my stuff. It's allowing those other people to keep hurting me. And you've all done that. You've all done that.
Mhm.
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
I do it a lot now.
People are like that. Just because you're my brother does not mean you get to come in and do whatever you want. No. And especially in many of our multicultural families, it's more difficult, right? That differentiation, because we've been taught love your family no matter what, right?
Mhm.
No matter what they do, that's your mama, that's your daddy, no matter what.
That's why
So
you're
that
back on phone.
is hard, right? So use this terminology with your clients. You do it already. You have done this 1,000 times if you work with clients. You have. I just want to give you the verbiage. It makes the test come alive. It's not just the stuff over here you're studying, then you go to work and do something else. It's the same thing. Did that find helpful?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So now we're supposed to go to groups next. Okay. Do you want to stay here another week, or are we ready to go on? We're not going to leave this. So if you have more questions, let's stay here. Let's do
Is
that.
there a way that we can do both?
So
Like-
when we go to groups, we don't leave this because I still have to know what a narrative family therapist does in group. I have to know what a Gestalt person would do in group. So if I'm not that good in Gestalt yet, then I probably shouldn't go on into groups.
Will that put us behind with our
It
schedule?
will not.
What y'all want to do?
Like I said, let's go ahead and spend another group in.
Let's
Okay, so I need you to know it. Okay.
Yeah.
And then I can go and throw in a couple of group questions as we look at, so not necessarily the stages, but know what would a Gestalt therapist do in a group setting? What would a Freudian do in a group setting?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll help us
Yeah.
with group questions. Knowing the theories will help us with the group questions.
Yes.
And this is where the bulk of the questions are coming from, is knowing what they would do, knowing the verbiage, knowing emotional cutoff, right? Knowing who it belongs to.
Yeah.
And not memorizing what the book says, but able to apply it to the questions. Okay. Do you guys feel like if you've learned some things? Has some bulbs come on? Like, okay, maybe.
I feel better than I did yesterday about family, but I don't feel 100% yet.
Okay. I don't think you'll ever feel 100%. The goal is to know what you know, and then when you see the question, I ain't never heard of that. I know the other stuff, right?
Mhm.
And know enough to know what it can't be. Okay. Okay. Did I put flashcards in there last week in the chat box?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So you can use those if you'd like, if you're a flashcard kind of person. And again, you can use the book. I don't really care how you learn it. I just care that you spend time this week, at least 5 or 6 hours studying over and over and over. Have note cards in the bathroom when you're brushing your teeth that the gestalt is the empty chair and he wants you to be a whole person, the experientialist, right? And Whitaker came to your house. Whitaker would be sitting there watching you brush your teeth, going, you missed the tips, right? Okay. Strategic family therapy would say, well, you told your kids to brush their teeth, but they really didn't. So, right, that's a double bind because you told them, but they really didn't do it. Put this into verbiage. Anybody seen the Barbie video or the Barbie movie yet?
Yes.
What theory is the Barbie movie based on?
Ooh.
Is it existential? Or
Yes, existentialist. Barbie's trying to figure out what is her
What's her
purpose.
purpose?
What is
I might need to watch it then.
She was
Yeah, it had a deep message. It focused a lot on like body image and stuff like that.
It does. It is so good. It talks about we had a gay Barbie, right? The doll, and it talked about
Weird Barbie.
in the family. It's it really is a great movie to study from. I swear. Everything you'll see on the test is in that movie.
It's
Really
definitely not for kids.
not for kids. It wasn't bad. I just think the vocabulary was very adult.
Right. That's
Oh, well,
what
my 14-year-old went and watched it.
You should have gone with her. It wasn't bad. It wasn't like
it wasn't like bad. It was. I don't think she probably understood it though, because it was so like.
It may have been why she couldn't tell me. She just said it was good. I was like,
there was no sex. No, it was
No. It just
Okay.
was
Yeah,
very like information, like a lot of like.
like patriarchy. Like Ken realizes that he doesn't have a life. He does what Barbie says, and he goes and he realizes, hey, I'm a man. I need a horse. Okay. So,
gotcha.
and Barbie makes a comment, but don't worry, he doesn't have anything to tell you. So I mean, it's really just very what's the word I want to use? Existentialist. She's trying to figure out what is her purpose. Why is she
was always so perfect.
really good movie to talk about using those theories. Really good.
Okay. I'm gonna have to go watch it then because I need all the help I can get.
I promise you. And I'm with my kids and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what Victor Frank calls Carl Rogers. That's what he would say. That's so running through my head as I'm watching the movie. But really, really, really good about real life and being a therapist. I think anybody would appreciate it. Okay. I did wear my Barbie pink. So you know. Most people in the theater were my age, not kids.
And everybody wore pink.
Of course they did.
Yeah, too.
Okay, guys, I'll see you later on. Good job. Okay, go back and watch this video 1,000 times. You just got to get me in your head over and over and over again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right.